is up, fam? Thank you so much for tuning in to So Real Sports Talk. I truly appreciate it. This is going to be one of my most fun shows because we are going live with the man, the myth, the legend, Jesse, one of my favorite people to do this show with. Actually, one of the reasons I even have this channel. Jesse, it's so good to see you after so long, man. How's everything going with you?
It's going fantastic, man. It is so awesome to be back on your show. I missed you. We were talking backstage a little bit. Obviously, you and I keep in contact on a personal level, but just seeing you back doing your thing puts a smile on my face. So I'm glad I can be a part of it.
Hey, and there's another reason to be smiling, my man. We are 2 days away from 49er football, and I thought we'd do something a little bit different than just going straight like game predictions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If you guys want that content, it's there. Go to our channels, look it up. We've been already talking about, that kind of stuff. But what I really wanted to do was talk about some major themes that we need to be looking at for the year and what could constitute how these actually kind of projecting what can happen, what we feel like would happen. So I wanted to start straight out. Let's get to the heater. Kyle Shanahan, all right? So the truth about Shanahan is he has a losing record when it comes to the 49ers, has only made it to the playoffs once. Obviously, that ended up being a Super Bowl run, but I think it's 3 out of 4 seasons at this point. Not made it to the Super Bowl. Questionable first-round draft picks. This offseason, up to debate whether or not it was handled well. But you really got to start thinking, another losing season this season. Now we're talking about 4 out of 5 seasons. Rookies not starting. So tell me, what does Kyle Shanahan need to do this season to stay off of the hot seat?
Man, Sunil, I almost feel like he's got a free pass a little bit, right? I feel like this whole Trey Lance situation has kind of breathed new life into his coaching career, regardless of what happens. And I feel like hot seats usually happen when fan bases start to call for it, right? But for some reason, this fan base thinks that Shanahan can do no wrong. And, I fully expect, by the way, that he's never going to reach that hot seat just because I think that they will win this year, right? But if this team doesn't make the playoffs this year and Trey Lance doesn't develop, you have to start questioning things, right? To me, that has to put him on a hot seat. So I think it's twofold. Either both of these things have to happen, but again, Trey Lance doesn't develop and they don't make the playoffs. Those two things happen, the season's a lost season, right? Everybody expects this team to win, and we'll talk about our personal expectations later, but I would assume the expectation bare minimum is playoffs. Some people have the expectation of a Super Bowl with this team. So if you don't make the playoffs, well, then this gem of a quarterback that you spent all this capital on better pan out. And if you also waste a whole season running with Jimmy and this man isn't getting better throughout the season and you can't see that happening, that's where things have to get serious, and he would be put on the hot seat there. I don't see either of those things happening, but if they do, I think that's the way that it can happen.
Yeah, and I agree with you as far as I think there is a difference between football and what should happen, and somehow what's going on in San Francisco. And I think there's and look, everybody knows I'm a Shanahan stan, but there's something different about the relationship between Shanahan and York than I think other GMs or other owners and coaches. And for some reason, that relationship has given him a free pass and a blank check and really carte blanche to everything. And we haven't really seen any kind of change in Jed York that, if anything, it seems like he's more free and more relaxed and more just everything is going well. And it's really hard to, kind of like defend Shanahan if they don't make the playoffs this season. And now you're talking about 4 out of 5 years, right? That a team that has been highly ranked in the offseason just doesn't achieve what they need to achieve. And I get it. The 49ers always look competitive, whether or not their record is a winning record or a losing record. But when you start looking at the first round draft picks, when you start looking at the win-loss record, when you start looking at how competitive they've been as far as making it to the playoffs and the quarterback situation, you got to look at it. And if you're a truly football person and just unemotional about it, you got to look at it and say there's more question marks than answers. And I think I'm with you. I think that Kyle Shanahan maybe won't be on the hot seat regardless of what he does this season. But for his own brand and for, like, I think the more cerebral 49er fans versus just like the guys that are, just fanatics, he has to perform this year. This team has to make the playoffs. We have to see, I'm kind of I'm kind of like in between whether or not Trey Lance should play right now. I want to treat Trey Lance like a pure quarterback. If you didn't win the starting role, be the backup, come in during garbage time, but let's not do this like in and out, because I don't think that really benefits him in the long run or the team in the long run. So I think Jimmy's the starter. Hopefully he stays healthy, because this is one of those off years. He usually stays healthy every other year. This is that other year. So, and the team makes the playoff and makes a deep run because, I mean, how many years can the 49ers settle for not making the playoffs, not cheering for our team in the playoffs, and still look at Shanahan and be like, that's our coach, or that's the guy that's going to take us there? 4 out of 5 years that's a trend at that point. You know what I mean? 3 out of 4 years might even be a trend at this point, right? So that's what I'm kind of looking at. And I think we do have to see playoffs or bust, I think, at this point, for at least the fan base to start deciding, Shanahan needs to maybe go.
Yeah, and there's a lot that goes into it. Sunil, by the way, I feel like you've kind of come to my side on this one. I don't know if early in the offseason this is what Sunil would be saying about this situation.
Yeah. I got to tell you, Jesse, before you go on, I don't like the way this quarterback situation was handled.
Okay.
This
is it for you, huh?
Yeah. So, I mean, this was the time that we finally got his guy. And I think it was just handled improperly. I know I talked about it with Jack, but I think that Trey didn't get enough time behind the first string offensive line and with the first string offense to develop enough to even compete with Jimmy in a way, or like be thrown out there. And I just don't like everything was handled this offseason with the quarterback situation. To me, it's more drama, and we don't need drama at the quarterback situation. We need consistency, and we need some decisiveness, and we didn't have it. And that's why I'm kind of, at least leaning off of just being a stand.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, because, I mean, it's all relative. I know, obviously it seems like everything always ends up back at the quarterback position, but, you haven't been live in a while, and you and I haven't had this conversation. So how would you, go through the whole offseason? How would you have liked to seen, ideally, this quarterback situation handled?
I would have liked to see Jimmy traded for either a first round pick or Stephon Gilmore. Obviously Gilmore got injured, but I think that I would have liked to see Jimmy Garoppolo get a chance to start somewhere else where the coach wasn't flirting with every single quarterback available in the offseason. I think they should have brought in a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick and Andy Dalton or somebody like that who knows their role as far as just being a bridge quarterback and, not going to be a starter for the foreseeable future. We would have saved the money. And if you're going to go after a rookie quarterback, I don't mind trading the draft capital and going after a guy like Trey Lance. But we're seeing everything that we expected with the locker room that has a guy there that we already love, $26 million stacked into this guy. now they're both on the team, and it's just like you have to kind of make the decision to start Jimmy, especially if Trey isn't getting the kind of reps that you need, because he needs it. He needs to develop. We all knew he wasn't just going to come out and be lights out. He hasn't played for a year. When he did play, he didn't throw the ball that often. So he was going to be a work in progress. And I just think they didn't allot enough time to give him the work. And so that's how I would like to see it play out. I don't know if you feel the same way or how you would feel.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly how I feel about it. And, you're right. They had every opportunity to get rid of Jimmy in the offseason, and they chose not to because they weren't getting the compensation they wanted. Well, I think it's more like there's more into it, right? And this, again, talks about Shanahan as a leader, right? Like you've got to have the foresight to know that, okay, sure, I'm not going to get a second round pick or a first round pick like we want. Maybe we only get a fourth or a fifth, whatever that ends up being. But in the long term, that's going to help my young quarterback get better, faster, and it's going to give this team an opportunity to rally around him. Because what ends up happening is you can't do what the Patriots did with Cam Newton and Mac Jones, right? You can't just outright cut Jimmy. Not this late. Like you could have done it 3-4 months ago, but you do it now when the team's already come back around him, rallied around him. He was the incumbent starter, right? And so now you don't have the opportunity to do that because you're going to look like an idiot in front of your team. They're not going to like that decision. So now you're right. You're in a situation where you do have to start Jimmy, because if for some reason Trey starts and he struggles, which he's a rookie, he probably will struggle, right? If he has a 3-pick game, the crowd starts chanting for Jimmy. The locker room starts to wonder why the hell Jimmy's not playing, right? They're going to question everything. So when you play Trey at this point, you can't go backwards. You can't do what Miami did. And you don't have the luxury of doing what the Patriots did and saying, hey, we're just going to get rid of the problem before it becomes a problem. And we're going to make sure that we're 100% behind Mac Jones through the ups, through the downs. None of it matters. There's not going to be any chanting from the crowd to get Cam in this game. Like, it's the Mac Jones show. You don't have that luxury. So when you insert Trey Lance into this starting lineup, you have to be 100% certain that he's almost flawless. Because if he's not, you risk losing the team and the fan base. So you've just put yourself in this awkward situation that you completely could have avoided if you had just taken care of it 3 months ago. So I'm with you on that.
And, if we play things out, because look, the team around any one of these quarterbacks is extremely good, right? The defense alone could win you games with just average quarterback play, right? Just don't turn the ball over and the defense could win you some games. Just don't turn the ball over and this running game could win you some games. So what if the 49ers go all the way with Jimmy Garoppolo, make it back to the Super Bowl, maybe even win a Super Bowl? Now we're looking at maybe Trey Lance doesn't even start the next year, because how do you get rid of a Super Bowl winning coach or a quarterback, right? You have to, either extend Jimmy, or at that point, I don't know, like unless you
at least start for the next year, right? Like now,
right? You got to bring back that team. All of the players on that team are going to want the quarterback that took them to the Super Bowl, and that we're already seeing that. The guys that have been here, that Jimmy G took them to a Super Bowl, are now voting him captain. Now that, at least was the quarterback when they made it to the Super Bowl. Look, none of those guys had really been in deep playoff runs, never been to the Super Bowl. Most of the guys on the 49ers, that's a big experience for them. And they attach that to Jimmy Garoppolo being their quarterback. Whether the fans see it that way or not, the players on that team, I was on with Grant. Nick Newman said this eloquently. He said, look, Jimmy never lost the locker room. He only lost the coach, right? And if he ever had the coach. So for me, I look at it like, you got to root for the 49ers to go deep. But if the 49ers go deep, is Trey even starting next year? I don't know. You're in a really awkward situation at this point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll understand this because you and I obviously love fighting, love MMA and everything associated with it. But this was like a championship fight, right?
Mhm.
And it's different. Like Justin Fields should be starting in Chicago. There should be no debate, right?
Right.
Because Fields is new to the team. Andy Dalton's new to the team, right? Well, in this situation, Jimmy G's the standing champion, right? Even if we think he's the interim champion, he's still the champion, and he's fighting the challenger in Trey Lance. Well, in order for Trey Lance to take that job, he had to knock Jimmy out of that job, right? It couldn't be what we saw happen, which is essentially a split decision. One judge gave it to Jimmy, one judge gave it to Trey.
Right.
You're going to go with the champion in that scenario. So Jimmy gets the nod. Jimmy didn't necessarily earn it, but he lasted all 5 rounds and it was kind of close. But it's not like Trey, as the challenger, came in and took it from him. So, that's always what we see, especially in boxing. You have to beat the champ to be the champ. And
Right.
that's the situation here. And it shouldn't have had to have been like that. Again, it should have been nipped in the bud. And this is what's interesting to me, because Kyle is the type of guy that is a risk taker, but at all the wrong times, right? You want to get to the Super Bowl. Now all of a sudden you want to be a throwing team. Okay, why? You want to trade 3 first-round picks to go get Trey Lance, or spend 3 first-round picks on Trey Lance? Oh, I'm going to bet the house, but when it comes down to throwing the TV into the bet and making him the starter, nah, that's too much. That's where I draw the line. So wait a minute. You're willing to lose your house, but you're not willing to lose your 50-inch TV? Okay, that makes a lot of sense, Kyle. Like, you don't spend all that capital betting it on Trey Lance and then saying, oh, he's up. Like, now we can't start him. I mean, that's too much of a risk. It doesn't make any sense to me. He goes all in at the wrong times. It blows my mind.
And there's this big like, this is what I don't understand about like the fans, right? So I'm coming out like, both of us were wrong. Both of us wanted Trey to start.
For sure.
Both of us believed Trey was going to start,
Yep.
and we were both wrong.
Yep.
And we'll admit it.
Mhm.
But now I'm like, look, this 2 quarterback situation doesn't help anything. No matter how much I love Trey, if he didn't earn the starting position in the coach's eyes, sit him. Like, he's the backup quarterback at this point.
Yep.
We don't need gimmick plays. We don't need gadget plays. I didn't see Aaron Rodgers come in. I didn't see Patrick Mahomes come in. And I know Brett Favre and Alex Smith maybe are better quarterbacks than, obviously Brett Favre. Alex Smith, debatable as far as what he's like compared to Jimmy's, 2019 season. But we have to see what's best for the team. And it doesn't help. Like, they're like, oh, Trey needs reps, but Trey doesn't need a rep and then come back out. Trey needs series after series of reading defenses, being able to make adjustments, being able to have that chemistry with the receivers, and all that kind of stuff. That's what we're talking about, reps. Not just come in, hand the ball off, and run out. That's not helping his development. That's not helping him read defenses. That's doing whatever he's already good at. And I don't think that that's what we need out of a quarterback that has to be our future based off of the capital we gave up. Give the keys to Jimmy. Hope he stays healthy, and he should be the quarterback for the whole season, and we ride or die with him at this point. Like, if he gets injured, okay, bring Trey in. But at this point, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is good enough he's not going to play bad to the point where he should be replaced. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? He's not that kind of quarterback. I think he's going to be good enough for this team to continue to win. And I obviously think Trey Lance gives the 49ers more. But at this point, you can't make that switch.
No.
You can't, not with this quarterback, not with a guy who's taken a team to the Super Bowl, this team to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Pull up Steve's comment, the very last one, because this is a point that I've made in the past. He says, you're not really betting the house. Those 2 ones will save us $5 to $8 million each year that they can use in free agency. Steve, I'm with you. I've said this same exact thing. The problem is it only saves you if Jimmy's also not on the roster, right? And that's what we're discussing right now, which is, how long is Jimmy going to stay around? Because if this team does have another deep run and Jimmy plays well, you can't just dump Jimmy. You've got the same problem on your hands next year. So you're still paying Jimmy 26. Where are you going to spend the money at? Where does that $5 to $8 million get spent? It gets spent to extend some players, but it doesn't get spent to bring players in. So that's that sounds great on paper, but unless Jimmy's gone, that doesn't really work, right? And so, listen, Sunil, I'm with you 100% on this. It just, the whole thing doesn't make sense. And here's another contradiction, right? So first of all, I don't think it's fair to Jimmy. Like, we've bagged on Jimmy and whatever else, but if Jimmy is the starter, it's not fair for him to go in and out of the lineup either.
Right.
Like, he's the starter. Let him be that guy, right? So at that point, it's unfair to Jimmy. If Trey does come in and out a lot, I also don't understand how that's helping his development. So let me get this straight, Kyle. Trey, you wanted him to play solely from the pocket when it came to the preseason and evaluating him. And once he showed you he wasn't a pocket quarterback, then you remove him from the equation as a starter, and you want him to get better in coming in and not being a pocket quarterback? How does that make any sense? So you're going to use all the things that you know he does well, and that's somehow going to help him develop as a pocket quarterback? That it's a contradiction all the way around. I don't buy any of it. If Trey was the starter, Jimmy wouldn't be coming in and out of the lineup.
Right.
Like, it would just be Trey. So do the same thing for Jimmy. I also, just to put a cap on this, I don't think that Trey's going to get a lot of burn unless it is a blowout. All this stuff we saw against the Raiders, that's all window dressing. I put the over-under at 6.5 total snaps. I just don't see it. I don't think he's going to get a lot of burn. I think that's Kyle finding a way to calm down the fan base or whatever and act like it's more than what it is. I don't see him getting a lot of snaps, but I could be wrong.
Why would you risk your backup quarterback's health, putting him in situations where he's going to get hit, right? Because if you're coming in and just running the option, he's going to get hit either as the ball carrier or pitching it at the last second. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and his development, his issues isn't his legs. His issues isn't his ability to run. His issue is, as a quarterback in college, he only threw the ball on average 16 times a game. Mm-hmm. He hasn't played all last season. So obviously he wasn't good enough to overtake the position against Jimmy, according to Kyle Shanahan, through training camp. So make him your full-time backup and treat him like that. I don't want him to be Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill hasn't won the starting job for the New Orleans Saints. They brought in Jameis Winston to be that starter. So to me, I just think we need to use Trey as that backup quarterback at this point. You had a chance through training camp to make a decision. You made a decision. Let's be decisive. Let's build around Jimmy as the quarterback. That running game is going to be the crux of our whole offense. That defense is going to be the strength of our team. And let's go out and win that way. Let's stop playing all of these mind games. I'm with you on that as well.
I'll also say this for anybody that's still in the Jimmy should start corner. Okay, so I have two questions, and you can play Jimmy stand for a second, Sunil.
Yeah.
So question one, is this or is this not a run first team?
Run first team for sure.
Okay. And is the goal to go out and win every game?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if Trey Lance plays, just by default of him running the ball 4 to 6 times a game himself, you're going to do what you already are built to do more than what you're going to do it with Jimmy, right? So if Jimmy plays, you're going to pass the ball more than if Trey Lance plays. If Trey Lance plays, he opens up the running game. So if you're a run first team and Trey Lance accentuates that, then in turn, doesn't that win you more games? And also 17 games of Trey Lance going through the ups and downs and trying to learn to be a quarterback. I think him entering the playoffs after 17 games under his belt is a lot scarier to every team in the NFC than Jimmy G ever could be. So if the goal is to win and you're a run first team and that's how you plan on winning, why don't you have in the quarterback that makes it easier for everybody else to do their job? That doesn't make sense to me, and it never will.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we both thought that he should be the starter, because they're close enough to where his upside gives the 49ers a chance. But at this point, you made the decision. So I think we both think, just sit Trey. He's the backup quarterback. He only comes in garbage time or if Jimmy gets injured.
Exactly.
Cool. So I want to shout out some people that were making some comments. I mean, the Dream, Jessie and Sunil, the legendary duo returns. I appreciate you. Amin, Tanya, Seao. Oh, great last name.
Mm-hmm.
Jessie and Sunil, hi. Hello to you as well. East Bay Chris. Hate to admit it, Amin, but yes, these two guys are very good. East Bay. I don't know whether that's a troll or whether that's true.
Well, look
Coming
at
out of
his
your
next
mouth.
comment. He said, well,
Sunil
Sunil's a
more
little
than
better than
Jesse.
Jesse, but that's a given.
All right, that's definite troll. Let's see. I think there was one more. Sunil, what up, Evan? Thank you so much for tuning in. And J.R. Meadows, we need Jimmy G and Sir Lance. See, I don't know if we do, my man. I think we just need one quarterback to keep moving the ball down the field and get Lance in to develop in garbage time. At this point, it's about the team. It's not about the quarterback. And the team needs to know who their quarterback is and rally around one guy. So that's how I feel, at least.
For sure.
Cool. So let's move on to the other opposite end of the coaching staff. D'Amico Ryans being the new defensive coordinator. What would you consider a successful season for D'Amico Ryans?
Yeah, I would say for him, and I don't want to put like a defensive ranking on it just because I think it'll bleed into the next topic a little bit, but just situational football. You know, can he design a defense that can corral some of these quarterbacks that move around a bit? Can he make good, sound decisions in tough situations? You know, 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, game on the line. What does he drop in that situation, right? You know, a team's making a long drive and they need a touchdown to win, and they're at the red zone basically. At that point, what type of plays is he drawing up? Is he comfortable in that situation? So, you know, rather than putting a defensive rank on it, I just want to see him call good, sound plays in situational football. And if he does those things, then I think that he's done what he needs to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I fully expect a very aggressive defense, a lot of cover one. You know, these injuries worry me a little bit because I know if Josh Norman is in the game, they're going to play more cover 3, cover 4, which is what they've been doing in the past. So I hope that health stays on their side. They are able to be very aggressive with this defensive play calling, and he's able to do what I think he does so much different than Saleh, and that is bring the aggression, bring the exotic blitzes, and allow that to be the staple of this defense. So I'm curious to see how it plays out for him.
Yeah, I mean, D'Amico Ryan seems like he wants to win the down versus just like not get beat, right?
Yep.
Saleh was more of a conservative, just like don't let anybody get past us.
Yep.
And D'Amico Ryan seems like he's trying to make the tackle behind the line of scrimmage, get that interception. Let's turn the ball over, which I think is going to really excite this team because everybody that they have is a pretty aggressive style player.
Yep.
So this is going to kind of open them up. For me, I think a successful season based off of the personnel is this defense still being what carries this team. As long as the defense could still be the best part of this team, I think that D'Amico Ryans has done a great job in year one because he has the defensive line that I think is going to be miserable for any offensive line to deal with as far as the rotation and the type of talent that's there. He has the safeties that I think are pretty elite. And as long as, Tart and Ward stay healthy, I think are going to give quarterbacks fits. One of the best linebacker duos in Greenlaw and obviously All-Pro Fred. And then some decent corners. Obviously, Verrett's there, and I do like the rookies. And when Mosley comes back as well, I think he has all the personnel to be a top defense. And I think as long as they perform like a top defense, he's done his job.
Yeah.
You can't really expect too much more from a guy that's coming into his first year as a defensive coordinator anywhere. But as long as they stay competitive, they stay a top defense, I think he's done a great job. And 100% expect him to, because I think he's smart enough. I think that he's, these linebackers that turn into defensive coordinators seem to transition so well. You're seeing it with the Titans, what is happening with their coach over there. Yeah, man, I expect DeMeco Ryans not only to have a great season, but I expect us to lose him in 2 or 3 years just because of how well he's going to have this defense going.
Yeah, that would be a great problem to have, right?
Mm-hmm.
He gets promoted, then everything went well. So yeah, and I think it helps too. All Pro Fred is there. I think Fred has a chance to be Defensive Player of the Year with this aggressive style defense. I think he's going to get his hand on more interceptions. Just naturally by blitzing, he'll get a few of those, maybe more fumbles, strip sacks, or even just sacks. So having a guy like that, Manning, and being the quarterback of this defense to work with you, I think that's the best case scenario for DeMeco Ryan. So he's set up to do very well.
I agree, man. I agree. Moving on. So we just talked about the D coordinator. Let's talk about the actual defense, right? So we have high expectations for this defense. Yeah. So I think they could be like a top 10 defense and it still be considered unsuccessful, right? Because of how much the expectations are. So looking at what this defense is consisted of personnel-wise, and what we've seen from them in the past, what would you consider a successful season for this defense?
It's got to be top 5 minimum. Top 5 minimum. And I think that they probably have to eclipse the amount of turnovers that they forced in 2019. You've got one extra game to do so. Again, I just said that this defense is going to be predicated around its aggression. And so if you're going to be an aggressive defense, you've got to force more turnovers, because on the flip side of that, with aggression does come some lapses, can come some blown coverages. And, you might get more points put on you because of that. But if you can force some of those turnovers at opportune times, it won't really matter. So I'm going to say top 5 defense, top 5 scoring defense. I don't care about the yardage. I hate that. I think that's the dumbest way to rank defenses. But top 5 scoring defense and forced more turnovers, which I believe was 27 in 2019. So they've got to do that in order for them to be successful, in my mind.
I agree. And especially with the quarterback play, regardless of who the starter is, I think one thing that's really going to be important is keeping them in good field position, minimizing the amount of long drives that Jimmy or Trey has to go on. And I think a lot of that is going to be done through the defense being able to 3 and out or, turn the ball over. And I think with the type of people that they brought in, we heard Jimmy Ward talk about what his focus is this season. He wants to be able to turn the ball over more. I think it's important, especially with this defensive line. They're going to be putting pressure on the quarterback. The quarterback's going to be making quick decisions, make a lot of mistakes, and it's up to this defense to turn the ball over. So more than the ranking, I think I want them to be one of the top ranking turnover teams this year, sure, because I think that's going to definitely help out the overall team, especially with Jimmy as quarterback. Let's make it as easy as possible for him. Let's play complementary football. Let's have the defense not just hold people, but we need to stop people and get them off the field. And I think that's what I really want to see out of this defense.
Yeah, I think that's it. And you hit the nail on the head there. Regardless of who starts, the 49ers have the 4th best quarterback in this division. Like, let's just make that clear. Like, rookie Trey Lance is not better than Stafford, Murray, or Wilson. And Garoppolo is certainly not better than any of those guys. So if you have the 4th best quarterback in the division, that can be offset a little bit by having a high-powered run offense, right? And some good weapons, which they do have. But it also can be offset if your defense makes it harder on those opposing quarterbacks so that our quarterback doesn't have to be perfect in order for us to win. So you're absolutely right. That's what has to get done.
And look, we didn't cut any of the defensive linemen that we brought into training camp. So this defensive line has to eat. We got to see production, meaning sacks and tackles behind the line of scrimmage. And one thing that I want to see fixed as well is our ineptness against mobile quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ebicom, you were brought in. D Ford, you're there. Bosa, you're healthy. These quarterbacks can't just gash us like they do, like they've done in the past. Those are I think the three things I want to see: more sacks, more turnovers, and don't let these mobile quarterbacks, because we play two of them.
Mm-hmm.
We're four out of our 17 games are in our 4 out of the games in our division are against mobile quarterbacks. They can't gash us, and that's what I really expect out of this defense with the personnel that we brought back.
Yeah, we're gonna know real quick, right? Like I think 4 of the first 6 games are against mobile quarterbacks. You got Hurts, you've got Wilson, you've got Murray, and you've got Wentz. So, and Wentz is a different type of mobile than those other guys, but he's mobile, right? Like he can get out on you. So,
and Aaron Rodgers as well can be
yeah,
put in that
absolutely.
category
Yep.
as well.
Yep. So we're going to find out real quick if it's been resolved. And luckily for them, they get to ramp up, right? Because you're probably going to beat the Eagles, but Hurts is a nice little test. You've seen Lance throughout training camp, so that doesn't hurt. And then they get to go to Rodgers and then Murray, then Wilson, then Murray. So they get to kind of step into this slowly, and hopefully DeMeco Ryans and this defense are able to read and react a lot quicker because of those things.
Absolutely. And, I'm with you. This has to be a top 5 defense. And these guys have to be, this has to be the better side of the ball, right? Because the offense is still very young. I think the offense will be fine, but it's mostly the running game that I think is going to carry it. Yep. This defense has to be the consistent, every single game we could count on this defense to play at a very high level, because we know whomever the quarterback is going to be inconsistent play,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Cool. So let's move to the other side of the ball. What would be a successful season for this offense, Jesse? What would you consider a success, knowing everything we know about who's playing quarterback and, what's going on with the team overall?
Yeah, for sure. So we just talked about how we can protect the quarterback by playing defense. Well, you can also protect it by running the ball. And the way this team is set up with the offensive line that they've rebuilt on the fly, adding in all that depth at running back, you have to be a top 2 running offense. This team will not be successful if they are not that. They're probably going to run the ball maybe even more than the Baltimore Ravens, which is crazy. But if not more, they're going to be right there as far as attempts. So that means you have to be productive with it. So you have to keep away from some of these really good quarterbacks you're about to see, and you have to play good defense. So this rushing offense has to be top 2 in the league, in my opinion, for it to be successful.
Steve-O Supremo says Kittle needs 10 touchdowns. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
If Kittle could turn into a red zone threat, oh my God, like this offense just goes to another level. And I think that's what I'm really looking for as well. Look, Baltimore has been the number 1 rushing attack for the last few years. They lost every single running back that they have, right? Mm-hmm. So to expect them to still be a top rushing attack, I think is a little bit tough. The 49ers need to jump into that spot. In 2019, they were ranked number 2 after Baltimore. They should be the number 1 ranked rushing attack here in this season. And every single throw that Jimmy Garoppolo does should be off of play action because of that, right? Because that's going to open up the windows. That makes it easier for him to throw to guys like Debo, to throw to guys like Ayuk, to throw to Kittle, who need to have big years as well. Like, how long are we going to have this talent that doesn't, like, when are we going to get our 1,000-yard receiver? You know what I mean? Like, how long are we going to just use these guys as just kind of like the running and sweeps and all that kind of stuff, which we need to see, but we need to have that vertical game as well. And I think that only comes, especially with Jimmy playing, if the running attack is the way that, we are talking about, top 2, but I'm expecting them to be number 1 rushing attack in the league, right? I think it'll be the 49ers and then maybe Cleveland are probably the 2 that I think will be 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think the Ravens will be there also just because you still have Lamar and they have a three-headed veteran monster there. They have Devontae Freeman, they have Latavius Murray, and they have Le'Veon Bell. Between the three, if they could just rotate through those guys, 10 carries a game each, like they could probably still make it shake. So I wouldn't put them out to the pasture yet. I think that they're still going to be pretty good as far as running the ball.
Yeah. What let's focus more on the passing game. What do you need to see out of the passing game this season?
Limit turnovers. You cannot turn the ball over. Like the number one job of the quarterback is to protect the football. Like you cannot have these lapses where you're turning the ball over on your side of the 50 and putting your defense in a constant bad position. You can't have these lapses where you get in the red zone and you throw a dumb pick or you have a fumble. Those things cannot happen. So, that's the other thing I would say with this offense. They've got to be a top 5 red zone offense as well. Like when you get there, you have to put 6 on the board. You cannot put 3 on the board, or even worse, put nothing on the board because of a turnover. You have to take advantage of all of those opportunities. So be a top tier red zone offense. And as a quarterback, whether it's Jimmy or Trey, you've got to protect the ball. That's number one.
Yeah, and I'm even looking. I need to see guys like Kittle, Ayuk, and Debo be able to have a chance to have like an 800 to 1,000 yard season as a wide receiver as well. Like I think just having all these guys at 400 or 500 yards is just doing a disservice to the type of talent that they have, and we need to see what they're capable of because Debo's probably coming up for a contract extension here pretty soon. Ayuk is a year or two away, right? So like we really need to see these guys how good they could actually be to make some decisions in the future. And
For sure.
I think when we're looking at receiving cores, you have to say maybe the 49ers are fourth in that as well, just because we don't use these guys as often as we should. But I think that they're much better than they actually are showing right now. And I think we just need to open it up a little bit more. I know we already think Jimmy can't, but we have to, man. He can't just throw the ball down the field 1 or 2 times a game. It has to be, take like 4 or 5 shots. And we need to get some of those big explosive down the field passing plays, at least like 3 of them a game. I think I'd really need to see out of this offense as well.
Yeah, at least take shots, right? You're right. I mean, you can't play this 10 yards and in between the numbers game forever. Your defenses are already catching up to that. I think Jimmy in his last 14 is 8-6. Like everybody wants to talk about this 24-8 record or whatever the hell it is. He's 8-6 in his last 14. Now that tape is out on him, can he make the adjustment? And it's really interesting with Jimmy. I don't expect that he can stretch the field horizontally. I don't think he has the velocity for that, but he certainly can stretch it more vertically. It doesn't take arm strength, I think, is misconstrued. Sometimes people mistake arm strength for being able to throw deep. Every quarterback in this league can put the ball in the air 50 yards. I don't care who they are, right? So a deep play is considered anything basically 25 and over. So he can throw the ball like that. That's something that is in his arsenal. Now, arm strength to me comes down to velocity. Can you sit on one hash and hit a 10-yard out route on the far sideline? That's something that I don't think Jimmy can do. And so I don't need to see that necessarily, but I do want to see some of the downfield throwing because he absolutely can make those throws.
And I think that if we don't, it's gonna affect the running game because people are just gonna stack the box, right?
Yep.
And so yeah, I want to see mostly run, but I do want to see a more aggressive offense as well as far as throwing the ball down the field because we have the targets. Ayuk is a target. Sherfield is a target. Like Debo is a target. Kittle can be a target down the field, right? So we need to utilize that a little bit more. And I kind of want to see this offense do what Tampa Bay did, right? So when Tampa Bay last season, was a brand new offense with Tom Brady coming in and so many new pieces and all that kind of stuff. They used the regular season to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't always look like the best team. They, they may have lost some games that they should have won, but they knew that, hey, our team is good enough to make the playoffs. But let us figure out how to be the best offense we could be. And then when it came playoff time, we saw what all of that did, especially in the Super Bowl when that offense outplayed the Kansas City Chiefs offense. And I think that the 49ers need to have that kind of outlook where it's like, how are we going to look in the playoffs? And let's utilize the regular season, maybe make some mistakes. Maybe we don't go, 13-4. Maybe we go 12 or 11
12-5 or 11-6.
11-6. Still make the playoffs, but be like all cylinders on fire, have a great passing game, have a great running game. I think that's what we really need to focus on, because that's what hurt us in 2019 is when we needed to be a passing team, we couldn't keep up because we've been a running team and only focused on the running game.
Yep.
So I don't know if I'm contradicting myself, but
no, you're not. No, I get it. No, I get what you're saying. I mean, in order to win games, this is a run first offense, but you want to see that passing game develop because come playoff time, you're going to need it, right? It's the same thing when you talk about basketball or you talk about the NBA. Okay, like you can be a one-dimensional offense, you can be a run and gun or a slow it down type of offense, but once you get to the playoffs, you need a little bit of both. You can't just be one-dimensional. It's the same thing in the NFL. Like, yes, the running game will take you the furthest, the running game and defense. That's true. But at some point, you're going to need to be able to pull the trigger and you're going to need to be able to complete some passes. Your back's going to be up against the wall. And whether that's in the wild card, the divisionals, conference, or the Super Bowl, which is the case that we saw in 2019, if you can't do those things, you're not ultimately going to win. So they have to figure that out for sure. And again, Jimmy physically can make those throws, but is he willing to make those throws? He's so hesitant.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to. Can he mentally get over that hurdle that for some reason makes him double clutch in the pocket when he's got those throws to make and then check down?
Right.
Like, can he get over that? I don't know. We'll see.
He has to. Steve-O, Supremo, Debo, and Ayuk were on pace for 1K last year. They absolutely got close. Some injuries played there, and obviously, playing with second and third string quarterbacks doesn't help either. Low the Truth 05, aggressive offenses when Trey steps on the field. I don't think it could be like that, man. I don't think we could be one type of offense when Trey's there, one type of offense when Jimmy's there, and expect to really do anything, because defenses know at that point, They know, okay, this is going to be the more aggressive style and this is going to be the more conservative style. We need it to be in one quarterback, whether that's Jimmy, whether that's Trey. At this point, it's Jimmy. Jimmy needs to have both options. He's capable of being a more aggressive quarterback than he is right now. And I think that's what both of us are talking about, right, Jay?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we talked about earlier, I said, Kyle's really weird. He pushes his chips in at the wrong time, and Jimmy's the same way. When he has a chance to be aggressive and make an easy throw, but an aggressive one, a much easier throw, he won't take those chances. But when the pocket closes in and he's got nobody open and he can't get through his reads, he'll just throw it up for grabs. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Like you are built to be a dink and dunk quarterback, right? But you have this gunslinger mentality sometimes. So if you have that innate ability or mentality to be a gunslinger sometimes when you shouldn't be, well, then why can't you have that when you should be? So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And, Mark says the Cowboys and Buccaneers were fighting back-to-back 7 TDs, 700 yards, and Jimmy can't do that. Listen, I don't think Jimmy can do that on a regular basis, but he can do that. Check the New Orleans Saints game.
We've seen it, yeah.
The New Orleans Saints game is the perfect example of that. He can do it from time to time. I'm not saying that that's the way you want to win or you want to rely on that, but he's got to show that he can do it sometimes because you're going to need it.
Fernando Orellana, Niners, left 10 points to the Chiefs. Bills, Seahawks, and 9 points against the Cowboys. Offense struggles to score points. Absolutely. And I think that's because once again, if the running game isn't the running game, they really didn't have that other option, and because they didn't work on it through the regular season. And I think as a fan base, if Kyle Shanahan takes that approach and is like, we're going to work on all aspects of this offense, I think we should give them that reign and be like, understand, look, this is for the playoffs. This isn't for winning every single game in the regular season. That doesn't matter, right? Let's get as good as we can. If Jimmy's our quarterback, let's give him all the confidence in the world, because we want a confident quarterback come playoff time. And at this point, it's Jimmy, right? And so that's what I think both of us are looking for. Steve-O Supremo says, I think everybody would say Lance will finish the season. I don't think so, man. I think this is Jimmy's team at this point. What about you, Jay?
I would like to agree with that, but I thought he would start the season. So at this point, I've said it many times, I'm not in the business to make predictions if I don't feel a prediction. I really felt strongly that Lance was going to be the starter, just like I felt like he was going to be the draft pick. I don't feel strongly about anything from here on out. I don't feel strongly about the bye week. I don't feel strongly about week 10. I don't feel strongly about any point him starting. So I'm not going to say it just to say it. I don't know. I really have no clue on this. So I hope he is. I'm not positive that's the case.
I don't see how 8-10 games on the bench obviously all of a sudden makes him that much better to be able to start over right. Jimmy when he wasn't able to give you that kind of confidence in week 1. So
Jimmy's going to have to blow it. Like, Jimmy's going to have to come in and they're going to have to lose, like, I'll give you a good one. I think they have a stretch where they play, I believe it's the it's in October, October, early November, where they play the Cardinals and then the Rams. Like, they would have to lose both of those games, and it would have to be because of Jimmy in order for him to just get yanked, in my opinion, or he has to get hurt. Now, these things are possible, and, especially with injury, maybe they're likely, but, this team, because they run the ball so well and they play such good defense, we've seen it. Jimmy can outright give a game away, and they can still find a way to win. So if they're winning games, even if Jimmy's not playing the best, I still think that he keeps that starting job.
I agree. And look, we're expecting that Jimmy isn't getting better at all. I don't think he's going to get like Hall of Fame better, but I think he's working. He understands what his flaws are, and he's a starting quarterback, or he's in the NFL. Each year he's trying to work on getting better. I think that he'll cut down his interceptions, and I think that he'll, make better decisions, and at least he's working on it. You know what I mean? So like, we have to hope. And like I said, at this point, we're 49er fans. We're not Trey Lance fans. We're not Jimmy Garoppolo fans.
That's true.
Jimmy Garoppolo is our starting quarterback. I want him to be healthy. I want him to play at a high level.
Yep.
Mark saying, so what? It's only one game. He's just not consistent. So you have to score. We agree, Mark. What we're saying is this season, we want to see working on being able to put up more points versus just trying to win every single game. In 2019, the regular season was just win as many games as possible. So you ran it. You were conservative with the ball. You didn't take too many chances. We know that that's not going to be a winning combination in the playoffs. We're saying take more risks, develop Jimmy to be more of a gunslinger when he needs to be. And that's going to give us the best chance to win in the playoffs.
And Seahawks Kingdom makes a good point. He says all defense have to do is stop the run, then Jimmy struggles. This is true. I was going to say this. I was going to say, I hate agreeing with the Seahawks fan, by the way, but I have to give it to you. You're absolutely right about this. And the 49ers offense is a front runner offense. If they're the hammer, everything's going good. But the moment that they become the nail, it's like they don't know how to get out of their own way. So at this point, they got to figure out how to be the hammer and the nail and make it all the way through this season and get better at that, because those situations are going to arise once you get to the playoffs. That was also a plug for the Hammer and Nail show every Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern on Jack Hammer's channel. Go check it out.
Absolutely. Great show. It's a great show, by the way. So you definitely need to check that out. Yeah. And I mean, once again, go back to the Super Bowl champs from last year, Tampa Bay. During the regular season, they did not look like the best team in the NFC, right? But come playoff time, they absolutely look like the best team in the NFC, and they definitely look like the Super Bowl champs with the way that they played. And that was because during the regular season, they used it to get better versus just win every single game. And I think the 49ers are in a position with the defense that they have, with the running game that they have, that they could be competitive with every single team that they're going to play. And they could win enough games and always go back to that to win enough games to make the playoffs. So why not take some time when you have that kind of like safety net to get better in the passing game, because you know you're going to need that a couple of games, especially in the playoffs. And I think that's just what we're trying to say.
Oh, I hate to do it again, but I agree with this next comment. That's why the passing game is so important. The Niners don't have it, and the Seahawks, Cowboys, Buccaneers, Bills, Chiefs all have it based off good receivers, but I respect your run game. Well, listen, the 49ers have when you include everybody that catches passes, they have a very, very heavy weapon base as well with Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, Sherfield, the running backs, Juszczyk. The problem is it's the trigger man, right? And you're absolutely right about this. The Niners can win more games. And I've said this multiple times. I think the 49ers win the division. However, I think all 4 teams make it out of this division into the playoffs. And I think the Niners, out of all 4 of those teams, are the least scary when it comes to the playoffs if Jimmy G is the starter. So that's why, hopefully, for our sake, Trey Lance develops and they become a very scary team come playoff time. But even if they win the division with Jimmy, they're the least scary team out of all the teams in this division come January. And I really believe that.
I just don't see at what point they're able to bring Trey in if Jimmy's healthy. Yep. Because I don't think I've ever seen him healthy and play at a level where you're like, he needs to be replaced. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's what's tough. And if your team is winning, I don't know if the team is going to be excited about bringing in a new quarterback. We saw what happened with Miami. They're probably a playoff team if they stuck with Ryan Fitzpatrick that whole season, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they brought Tua in, and it ended up being where they missed the playoffs. And, they were trying to play that 2-quarterback system as well, where Fitzpatrick would come in later. And it's just like it doesn't work. So that's why I think we just need to get behind Jimmy if he's a starter and hope that he develops. Let's develop Jimmy to be the quarterback that we need. Because, like I said, we've seen it. If I've never seen Jimmy be able to do what he did in New Orleans or all those late game comebacks that he's been able to do, he has that capability. It's just he needs the confidence. And I think the play calling from Shanahan to open him up and give him the best opportunity to be able to do that.
For sure.
Mangold, thanks for jumping in, my guy. Everybody needs to go subscribe to Mangold's channel, man. He has the best card situation that you can see. All right, so let's get down to it. Oops, I got Mangold still up there. Season predictions, my man. So what do you expect? What are your predictions for the season, and what are your expectations for the 49ers this season?
Yeah, so I think the 49ers are a playoff team. I expect them to be a playoff team. Anything less than that would be uncivilized, right? So, yeah, my prediction for them is 12-5. If Jimmy is the starter come playoff time, I expect that they get bounced either in the wild card or the divisional round, depending on the matchup. Like if they have to play a Tampa in the wild card round, they're done, right? But I think ultimately they can make it to the divisionals. That to me would be a successful season. I would be cool with that. And it would be a good outcome, right? If Jimmy started all season, plays pretty good, they make it to the divisionals. Well, now you can move on from Jimmy because it wasn't a Super Bowl, and you can make that transition. And at that point, Jimmy's also built up a little bit of trade value, hopefully, to where you can at least get like maybe a 3rd rounder for him. So I think that would be a great scenario. I'm cool with that scenario. I will be bold, though, and I will say that if Trey Lance starts by week 10, this team will go to the Super Bowl.
Wow. And just drop the mic. I love it.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a playoff team as well. I actually, like I said, I'm really hoping that Kyle Shanahan uses the the regular season to make the team better versus just trying to win every single game. So I'm cool with the 12-5, 11-6 type record, and even if you're one of the wild cards and win a playoff game, I think that that's probably realistic expectations and maybe what the ceiling is at this point for the 49ers with the quarterback situation the way that it is. And I think that, we're looking at then we could do what Alex Smith, Kaepernick type of situation was, where Alex Smith obviously won. They made the playoffs and they made it to a certain point, but didn't make it all the way. And then you could make the transition into Kaepernick, who was able to, take it a step further. So That's what I really want out of this year. I would love to say that I think the 49ers could win a Super Bowl, but unless we see the quarterback play be as consistent and evolve, I don't think we
dynamic. It has to be dynamic at some point. It has to be
dynamic. Too. Yeah, and I mean there's a lot of young players that we're really leaning on. Ayuk, Trey Sermon, Lenore might be a starter. Obviously Nick Bosa. Like with these young players, there's going to be a lot of mistakes as well. That's why I'm saying we really need to focus on just getting better week after week, expanding our game week after week versus just winning and being the number one seed. I think a stronger team is much more valuable than the number one seed in the playoffs, and we just saw that with Tampa Bay.
Listen, Fernando, no Josh Mangold slander here, my man.
Yeah, we don't accept that over here, my man. So Jesse, I guess that's what we got for the show, but we got some stuff to announce. You want to go ahead and talk about what we got going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the goal is to, after every 49er game, later at night, probably around 9 Eastern, depending on when they play, that the 49ers, we will do a post-game recap right here on your channel. And we'll give immediate reactions. We'll talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and just break the game down. Instant reaction. And you're probably going to see a lot of that fan emotion, right? Like it's funny because we've covered the team from a perspective of, being fans, obviously, but trying to remain professional with it. And I think both of us are definitely hyped fans, and you might see some of that raw emotion come out, especially after a tough loss. So this is something I'm really excited about. This is something that I think we've probably done for years, Sunil.
Yeah.
Friends
with our friends and stuff like that. Yeah.
It down. So we're just going to move it here to the channel. Instead of breaking it down over the phone, we're just going to make it live for everybody else. So I'm really excited about that. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And we want to make it interactive, guys. As long as you guys stay, respectful in the comment section. I love to put your questions and your comments on the screen as well. Maybe one of these games, we might even make it interactive, have you guys call in, stuff like that. So I'm doing that with I actually love the Hammer and Nail show so much that I'm actually with Jack Hammer in the mornings doing a pregame show, and with Nails at the end of the game to do a postgame show. So I'm really excited to work with the both of them. So we're going to be obviously tweeting out the links and talking about that, but the season is going to be extremely fun. We actually get to talk about games instead of just, all of these what ifs or what could be. But I think we're both excited, man. I think we're going to be covering a playoff team. I think we're going to be covering one of the better teams in the league. And I think we're both excited to be able to do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is what we've all waited for, right? And as a content creator too, sometimes you struggle to come up with content and you overlap a lot and it makes it tough, right? You're going on different shows and what have you, and to come up with new, fresh content. Well, now it's going to be only that because the 49ers are actually playing football. And, it'll be also interesting for me to give an instant reaction here. And then after a day or two passes and I'm able to watch the game again, without the emotion and without the announcers, and just watch it for what it is to see how my opinion changes on certain things. So I'm looking forward to all of that, just being really transparent with emotion, with our initial thoughts, and just seeing how that transposes throughout the week. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And I've put all of Jesse's YouTube channel in there. Please go and subscribe there if you haven't. I'm on a mission to try to make it to 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible. I'm at like 555, so I need like 445. And hopefully we'll get that early in the season so I can monetize this channel and make some money doing what we're doing. But I'm going to be doing it regardless because I have so much fun being able to hang out with my boys like Jesse and whatnot. Guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Please tune into our show Sunday night. We'll be tweeting out the links, like I said. And everybody stay safe. Have a beautiful weekend and get excited. Football's back, baby.
Yes, sir.
Have a great night, guys.